It was a joke, a throwaway line over too much wine. But Mark, my husband of 20 years, ran with it. He didn't just run, he sprinted straight into the arms of someone else and into our lives. I replay that night on repeat, wishing for rewind, for a hand to clamp over my own mouth. We were on the couch, another Tuesday night blurring into the last 20 years, a comfortable silence that had become a chasm. The spark? Extinguished years ago, though neither of us dared to say the words out loud. Why did I say it? Blame the Merlot, blame the way Mark had been drifting further away, but the words tumbled out. Reckless, stupid. Maybe we should try something new, like an open marriage. I laughed, expecting the eye roll, the dismissal, but Mark just stared, a slow consideration dawning in his eyes. A knot tightened in my stomach, but I waved it away. He's just processing the absurdity, I told myself. Don't tell me you're actually thinking about it, I teased, nudging his arm. He smiled, that distant, detached smile that had become his default setting, and murmured, "You never know." The conversation fizzled, or so I thought. We went to bed, the city murmuring outside our window, and I woke up the next day, the joke already fading. Days later, Mark walked in with her, Sabrina. Younger, impossibly so, early 30s maybe, with a body sculpted in a gym and hair like midnight. "Deborah, this is Sabrina," Mark announced, like introducing a new coffee machine. "We're going to give your idea a try, spice things up." Frozen. That's all I was. Frozen in our Upper West Side brownstone, watching this stranger walk into my life, into my marriage. For a heartbeat, I thought it was a game. Payback for years of teasing. But Mark's face was stone. Serious. I managed a tight smile, a pathetic grimace as Sabrina offered a polite, pitying look. She was everything I wasn't anymore. Young, vibrant, effortlessly alluring. I hated her instantly. That night, in the hushed darkness of our bedroom, Mark scrolled through his phone, oblivious, indifferent. I wanted to scream, to shatter the silence, to demand how he could do this outrageous thing without a word, a discussion. But I stayed silent, swallowing the rage, willing myself to believe it was a phase. He'd tire of her. Things would go back. They didn't. Sabrina was a fixture. Dinners, casual hangouts by the pool of our building. Mark acted like it was normal, a new hobby waiting for the punchline that never came. The second week, it escalated. Sabrina was always there, striding into our home like she owned it, that infuriatingly serene smile plastered on her face. Leaning against the kitchen island as I made coffee, lounging on the couch, her legs tucked under her. Intimate, possessive. Mark? Blind. Or maybe just didn't care. He acted like this was perfectly reasonable, this woman, constantly present while I choked on my own polite smile. Every attempt to talk, to unravel this nightmare, he brushed off. "You brought it up, Deborah," he'd say, after Sabrina left, that dismissive tone cutting deeper than any shout. "You wanted to try something new." "It was a joke, Mark." My voice trembled, anger bubbling up. "You knew it was a joke." He shrugged, eyes glued to his phone. Maybe it wasn't such a bad idea. Unbelievable. 20 years, shared history, shared everything, and he was ready to torch it for this experiment. By week 3, the polite facade crumbled. Every time Sabrina walked in, I was a hair's breadth from exploding. It wasn't just her youth, her looks, though that stung. It was the way Mark looked at her, the way he hung on her every word, laughed at her jokes. It was the way she moved through my home, claiming space, claiming Mark. He was alive around her, energized, engaged, a version of him I thought was buried, and it was agonizing to realize it had only disappeared with me. One evening, after Sabrina's perfume lingered in the air, I snapped. "This has to stop," I said, planted in the doorway of Mark's study. He looked up, surprised by the raw anger in my voice. "Stop what?" he asked, infuriatingly calm. "Her," I spat, voice shaking. "Sabrina, this whole ridiculous thing, it stops now." Mark leaned back, arms crossed. "I don't see the problem, Deborah. You're the one who said try something new. I'm just following through." "It's not the same, and you know it." Fists clenched, nails digging into my palm. "This is our marriage, Mark, our life. You're treating this like a game." He sighed, rubbing his face. "I'm not trying to hurt you, Deborah," he said, softer now, but still detached. "But let's be honest. Things haven't been exactly great between us lately. Maybe this is what we need to get back on track." "Get back on track?" I repeated, voice rising. "Bringing another woman into our marriage is supposed to fix things?" Mark didn't answer, just that detached look, like I was the unreasonable one. "I'm done talking about this," he said, turning back to his desk. That's when the fight drained out of me. Lost cause. He was gone, already somewhere else, and nothing I could say would bring him back. The breaking point wasn't a single dramatic event, but a slow erosion. The family barbecue, casual, burgers, relatives. Then Mark arrived, Sabrina in tow. The air shifted. Whispers rippled through the backyard. Mark introduced her as a friend, but the way he hovered, the possessiveness screamed otherwise. Ethan, my stepson, arrived late. His usual easygoing demeanor replaced by a tight, unfamiliar anger. He barely acknowledged Sabrina, eyes locked on Mark. "Really, Dad?" His voice low, laced with fury. "What is this supposed to be?" Mark frowned. "What's what supposed to be?" "You know exactly what it means," Ethan snapped. "This is embarrassing. For you. For her." Mark's face darkened. For a moment, I thought he'd explode. Instead, he just shook his head and walked away, muttering under his breath. Ethan stayed, his gaze finally meeting mine. "You okay?" he asked quietly. I nodded, a lie. I hadn't been okay for weeks. Ethan didn't push, but the look in his eyes, anger, yes, but also something else, concern. He wasn't just angry at Mark, he was angry for me, and for the first time in weeks, a flicker of hope. Maybe I wasn't completely alone in this. Later, after everyone was gone, I sat by the building pool, the city lights reflecting in the water. Ethan appeared beside me, his expression soft. "You don't deserve this," he said simply. His words caught me off guard. I looked up at him and saw kindness, understanding, something I couldn't quite name. "Thank you," I whispered. Ethan nodded, gaze lingering, then walked away. The shift between Ethan and me was subtle at first, almost invisible. Lingering looks, comments that edged towards personal, the way he seemed to appear whenever I felt like I was drowning. My relationship with Mark? Ruined. Sabrina was a constant presence, her laughter echoing through our apartment, a ghostly replacement. Mark barely spoke to me, polite, detached, a sting worse than anger. Ethan, though, became a lifeline. Quiet observer, always noticing the tension, my unraveling. His presence, a silent comfort, a reminder that someone in this city, in this building, still saw me. One sweltering afternoon, the city air thick and heavy, Mark and Sabrina vanished, leaving the apartment eerily quiet. I went to the pool, hoping the cool water would clear the fog in my head. Ethan was there, laptop on the table. He looked up, a small smile. "Hey," he said casually. "Hey," I replied, suddenly self-conscious in my swimsuit. I tried to act normal, diving in. The water was a brief escape, a moment of peace. But when I surfaced, Ethan was watching, expression, curious, studying me. Unsettling, intriguing. I shook it off, swam a few laps, climbed out. As I wrapped a towel around myself, a swimsuit strap slipped. Insignificant, but Ethan's gaze lingered, a fraction too long. He quickly looked away, pretending to focus on his laptop, but the moment hung in the air. A flicker. Something I hadn't felt in years. Excitement? Impossible. Later, in the kitchen, washing dishes, the city sunset painting the sky in oranges and reds, Ethan walked in, hair damp from a shower. "Need help?" he asked, voice soft. "Almost done," I said, glancing at him. He hesitated, then leaned against the counter. "You seem off," he said. A bitter laugh escaped me. Understatement. Ethan frowned, brows furrowed. "Because of Sabrina?" "It's everything," I admitted. "Your dad, Sabrina, this whole thing. I feel like I'm disappearing." "You're not," he said firmly. "I see you, Deborah." The way he said my name, a catch in my breath. I looked at him, realized how close he was. "Thank you," I whispered, unsure what else to say. Ethan held my gaze, then stepped back. "You don't deserve to feel this way," he said. "He's an idiot for treating you like this." Before I could respond, he was gone. The next day, I walked, hoping to clear my head. The Upper West Side. Quiet on a weekday afternoon. Footsteps behind me. Ethan, jogging to catch up. "Mind if I join you?" he asked. "Sure," I said, surprised, not unhappy. We walked in silence, tension thick between us. Finally, Ethan spoke. "I know it's not my place, but you deserve better than this, Deborah," he said, voice steady. I stopped, turned to face him. "Why do you care so much?" I asked. Ethan hesitated, expression unreadable. "Because I care about you," he said simply. The weight of those words. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to push him away, pretend this wasn't happening, but another part, starved for attention, for kindness, wanted to pull him closer. I don't know what to say, I admitted. You don't have to say anything, Ethan replied. I just needed you to know. We stood there, the city fading around us. We should head back, I said, voice barely a whisper. Ethan nodded, fell into step beside me. Silence for the rest of the walk, but the tension was undeniable. Sleep was impossible that night. Ethan's words echoing in my head. Wrong. It was wrong, but the way he looked at me. The next morning, living room. Ethan on the couch, book in his lap. He looked up as I walked in, expression unreadable. Morning, he said. Morning, I replied, sitting across from him. Silence, then Ethan spoke. About yesterday? He began, trailing off. It's fine, I said quickly. We don't need to talk about it. I think we do, he said, voice soft, insistent. I looked at him, heart pounding. Ethan, this can't happen, I said, voice trembling. Why not? He asked, gaze steady. Because it's wrong, I said, the words hollow. Ethan leaned forward, elbows on knees. Wrong doesn't change how I feel, he said. I stared, speechless. Before I could respond, he stood and left the room. Avoidance. That was my strategy. Days blurred into a week, distance growing, but the tension, it intensified. I couldn't stop thinking about him, the way he made me feel, seen, valued. One evening by the pool, sunset painting the sky. Ethan walked out, hands in pockets. Mind if I sit? He asked. I nodded. He sat beside me, shoulder brushing mine. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For what? I asked, surprised. For making things complicated, he said. I shook my head. It's not your fault, I said. Silence. Then Ethan reached for my hand. Warm, steady touch. A surge of emotion. Deborah, he said, voice barely above a whisper. I looked at him, heart racing. Before I could think, I leaned in. Lips brushed his. Soft, tentative kiss. When I pulled back, surprise, relief in his eyes. I'm sorry, I said quickly, standing up. Don't be, Ethan said, voice steady. I didn't respond. Walked back inside, mind racing. After that kiss, everything shifted. Boundaries blurred, then shattered. Mistake, I told myself. Moment of weakness, stress, lies. Deep down, I wanted it. Wanted him. Days of tiptoeing, tension thicker than ever. Avoiding being alone, not trusting myself. But the more I tried to stay away, the more I was drawn to him. One evening, Mark came home late, Sabrina's loud laughter echoing in the hallway. They stumbled in, hand on her back, leaning into him, comfortable, intimate, jealousy, sharp, painful. Not just about Mark anymore, about everything he'd taken, everything he'd neglected. I turned off the TV, headed to the kitchen, hoping to avoid them. Glass of water, staring out the window. Ethan walked in. Couldn't sleep? He asked, voice soft. No, I said, not looking at him. He stepped closer, presence filling the small space. I heard them come in, he said. You don't deserve this, you know. Bitter laugh. We've established that. Ethan reached out, brushed hair from my face. Gentle, deliberate touch. Shivers. You deserve to be happy, Deborah, he said, voice steady. I looked at him, heart pounding. You can't say things like that, I whispered. Why not? He asked, gaze unwavering. Because it makes me want things I shouldn't want, I admitted. Ethan stepped closer, hand on my arm. Maybe you should stop worrying about what you're supposed to want, he said. Unspoken words hanging heavy. I didn't know what to say, what to do. Then he leaned in. I didn't pull away. Kiss different this time, deeper, certain. Not a question, an answer, a decision. And in that moment, I stopped thinking about Mark, Sabrina, everything I was supposed to feel. I let myself feel what I wanted, alive. After that night, no going back. Ethan and I, stealing moments, brief touches, lingering glances, quickly became something more. One afternoon, Mark announced a weekend trip with Sabrina. Unwind, he said, casually, like he hadn't just said he was leaving me alone in a house filled with the ghosts of us. I nodded, pretending indifference, but the moment they left, a weight lifted. Not alone. Ethan was still here, and for the first time, no guilt in wanting him to be. That evening, back porch, bottle of wine, city lights twinkling, talked about everything, nothing. His work, my frustrations, life's unexpected turns. Close, knees brushing, neither of us moved. Turned to look at him, the way he was looking at me. Breath caught. Ethan, I began. Stop, he said, voice barely a whisper. You don't have to explain, not to me. I nodded, swallowed the lump in my throat. I don't know what I'm doing, I admitted. You're letting yourself feel something, he said. Nothing wrong with that. Before I could respond, he leaned in, lips brushing mine. Slow, deliberate kiss, giving me a chance to pull away. I didn't, couldn't. Weeks deepened our connection. Not just physical, though that was there. The way he listened made me feel seen, valued, looked at me like I was the only person in the city, stole moments, sneaking around the apartment while Mark was out with Sabrina. Risky, dangerous, exhilarating, felt wanted. But challenges, close calls, almost caught. Kitchen, Ethan kissing me, front door opening, heart racing, pulled away. Mark walked in, oblivious. Hey, he said, glancing at us. What's going on? Nothing, I said quickly, voice shaking. Just talking. Mark nodded, uninterested, fridge, breath I hadn't realized I was holding, eyes meeting Ethan's. Careful, I whispered. Ethan nodded, small smile, no regrets, weight of what we were doing, guilt gnawing. Every time I saw Mark, Sabrina, told myself he didn't deserve loyalty, then saw Ethan, wondered if I deserved him. One evening, living room, Ethan turned, serious. You okay? He asked. Nodded, lie. Fine, I said. Don't have to pretend, he said. Not pretending, I replied. Even I didn't believe it. Ethan reached for my hand. I know this is complicated, he said, but I'm here for you, no matter what. Tears welled. Wanted to believe, embrace it, but temporary. World catching up. Despite doubts, couldn't end it. Ethan made me feel again, reminded me of being wanted, loved. For now, enough. But deep down, knew it wouldn't last. Breaking point. Late evening, dining table. Mark, Sabrina perched on his chair like a prize. Trying to eat, ignoring Sabrina's laughter at everything Mark said. Mark cleared his throat, tone setting off alarms. Thinking, he started. Next level. Confused. Next level. He leaned back, glanced at Sabrina, encouraging smile. Stop pretending this marriage is working. Divorce. Words like punches. Looked between them, joke, neither laughing. Divorce. Divorce? I repeated, whisper. Mark nodded, calm, detached. Best for both of us. Found something with Sabrina I haven't felt in years. You deserve that happiness too. Happiness. Like ripping our life apart was a gift. Chest tightened, struggling for words. Bitter laugh. Serious? I asked, voice trembling. Throwing 20 years away for her? Sabrina shifted uncomfortably, silent. Mark's jaw tightened, no backing down. Made up my mind, he said simply. Anger erupted. Made up your mind? I repeated, voice rising. What about me? Family? Destroy everything for some girl half your age? Enough, Mark snapped, calm cracking. Not just Sabrina. Marriage dead for years. Silence. Weight of his words. Wanted to scream, wrong, but deep down knew he wasn't. Marriage crumbling. Sabrina, final blow. Pushed back chair, walked out. No satisfaction of seeing me break. Days in a daze, motions. Mark parading Sabrina, knew Mrs. Harrington. Avoided them. Bedroom, walks. Reality followed. Ethan, only one who saw. Checked in, quiet comfort in chaos. One evening, back porch, wine. Ethan joined me. Holding up? He asked softly. Shrugged, speechless. Tears threatened, blinked them back. Don't have to be strong, Ethan said gently. Okay to let someone else carry the weight. Words broke something. Crying. He moved closer, arm around shoulders, leaned into him. Tears flowed. Don't know what to do, I sobbed. Losing everything. You're not losing everything, he said firmly. You still have me. Conviction in his voice, heart ached. Wanted to believe, fall into safety, guilt suffocating. Mark pushed divorce. Tension boiling. Papers, lawyers, arguments. Sabrina, smug shadow. Replaced. Ethan, refuge. More time together. Comfort in each other as world crumbled. Closer we got, more dangerous. One afternoon, Mark home early. Ethan and I, living room, too close on couch. Front door opened, jumped apart. Mark walked in, glanced between us, brow furrowed. Silent suspicion. Later, kitchen, Mark confronted me. Something going on between you and Ethan? Sharp tone. No, I said quickly. Lie. Course not. Stared, unreadable. Better hope that's true, he said finally. Otherwise, consequences. Sleepless night, conversation replaying, weight of his words. Careful, but ending things with Ethan, unbearable. Breaking point, weeks later. Text on my phone, Ethan, are you okay? Simple message. Enough for Mark. Stormed into living room, phone in hand, red face. Explain this, he demanded, phone in my face, frozen, mind racing. Not what you think, I said, weak. Not what I think, Mark shouted. Sneaking around with my son behind my back. Tell me it's not what I think. Ethan walked in, eyes widening. What's going on? He asked. What's going on? Mark spat. Your stepmother's been lying to me, to both of us. Ethan stepped forward, calm, resolute. Don't do this, Dad, he said. You don't understand. Oh, I understand perfectly, Mark spat. You two making a fool of me. It's not like that, Ethan said. Deborah didn't do anything wrong. Mark laughed, bitter. Course you'd defend her, just as guilty as she is. Argument escalated, voices rising, accusations flying. Finally, Ethan snapped. Maybe if you treated her better, none of this would have happened. Silence. Mark stared at Ethan. Shock. Rage. Get out, he said finally, voice low, cold. Both of you, get out of my house. Ethan looked at me, regret in his eyes. Come on, he said, taking my hand. We'll figure this out. Life as I knew it, over. First night after leaving. Hardest. Ethan and I, motel, edge of town, flickering neon, threadbare carpets, edge of bed, staring at wall, unraveling, marriage over, home gone, here with my stepson. Wreckage. Ethan sat beside me, hand on my knee. You okay? Soft voice. Shook head. No, I said honestly. Don't think I've been okay for a long time. Nodded, quiet understanding. We'll figure this out, he said. Promise. Comforting words couldn't erase the weight, couldn't stay in New York, scandal too big, too messy, leave, start over. Somewhere new, away from judgment, whispers. Days, making plans. Ethan's savings, small emergency fund I'd hidden, enough to leave. Packed little we had, Ethan's car, headed west, leaving everything behind. Long, silent drive. Lost in thoughts, stared out window, scenery changing, rolling hills to desert. Mark, Sabrina, life I'd built, ashes. But mostly, Ethan. The way he stood up for me, walked away from everything to be with me. Sacrifice I didn't deserve. Grateful for it anyway. Small town in Arizona, off the map, another world. Dry, warm air, sun's hug, fresh start. Tiny apartment, edge of town, one bedroom, creaky floors, peeling paint. Far cry from brownstone. Hours. Flicker of hope. Ethan, mechanic shop. Skills from his father. Me, diner, pouring coffee, taking orders. Truckers, townsfolk, no questions asked. Not glamorous, paid bills. Difficult at first. Guilt, overwhelming. Ruined everything. For Ethan, for everyone. Worried about whispers back home. Mark's story. Distance, easier to breathe. Ethan, my rock. Patient, kind, steady, always there together. He'd lost just as much. Relationship with father. Stability. Never blamed me. You didn't force me, he said one night. Balcony, desert sky. My choice, Deborah. Would make it again. Tears. No words. Reached for his hand, held it tight, stars winking down. New town, not perfect. Hours. Slowly built stability, each other's family, home. Months passed, letting go of past. But past wasn't letting go of me. Diner, shift ending, familiar face in doorway. Heart stopped. Mark, older, tired. Presence commanding. Walked toward me, unreadable expression. Panic. What are you doing here? I asked, voice trembling. We need to talk, he said simply. Glanced around diner, co-workers, customers, curious stares. Working, I said, voice steady. I'll wait, Mark said, booth by window. Hands shook, cleaning up, mind racing. How? What? Ethan. Shift ended, walked to Mark's booth. Stomach knots. Outside, I said. Conversation, no audience. Stepped into warm afternoon sun. Cicadas buzzing. Mark turned, unreadable. You look good, soft voice. Crossed arms, no pleasantries. What do you want, Mark? He sighed, hand through hair. Want to talk about Ethan? What about him? Defensive tone. Don't know what you've told him, Mark said, eyes narrowing. Turned him against me. Son won't even answer calls. Surge of anger. You did that yourself, Mark, I said. Pushed him away when you chose Sabrina over family. Not about Sabrina, voice rising, and about you, the way you... Enough, I snapped, cutting him off. Don't get to come here act like victim. Made your choices, Mark. Live with them. Stared, long moment, jaw tight. Think this is going to last? He asked, finally. You and Ethan run away, play house forever? Think we're doing just fine, I said, meeting his gaze. Shook head, bitter laugh. Ruined everything, he said. For him, for me, for all of us. No, Mark, I said, voice steady. You ruined it when you brought Sabrina into our home. Turned, walked away. Parking lot. Ethan waiting at apartment. Told him about Mark's visit, everything said. Listened quietly, calm expression, tension in shoulders. He doesn't get to control us anymore, Ethan said firmly. Our life now, not his. Nodded, his words sinking in. Peace. Mark wrong. What Ethan and I had, not perfect, not easy, real, and for the first time in years, enough.